What's up everyone? Welcome back to another video. It's gonna be really nice and warm today. I can't wait. Tomorrow we're actually gonna be going out. It's gonna be a little over 50 degrees. Gonna do a ride video for you guys tomorrow. So I've been meaning to do this video for quite some time. I'm going to be going over every single upgrade, every single modification done to my 2020 Road Glide Special. From front to back, top to bottom. We're gonna go over everything we used on this build, the manufacturers. Then I'm gonna go over my thoughts and tell you my true honest thoughts about every single upgrade and modification that I've done to it, so you guys can make a proper informed decision on purchasing any upgrades for your build. This is going to be a pretty lengthy video, and stay tuned because there is a lot to go over. All right guys, welcome back to Cycle Fanatix. If you guys are new to this channel or haven't entered to win our Stage 2 build kit with $5,000 cash, head on over to www.cycle-fanatix.com. Get yourself entered to win. And who doesn't want more horsepower? We're also gonna be heading out to Arizona on the 17th to ride the brand new Road Glide and Street Glide ST models. Harley Davidson reached out to me a couple months ago and we were invited to be one of the first ones to ride the new models with other content creators. Can't wait. And then I think about 2-3 weeks after that, we will be in Daytona from March 6th to March 11th. We'll be at the vendors, so come on by and say hi. I will be posting the times and dates and which vendor I will be at. I'm really hoping you guys could stop by, take a look at Silverback and come by and say hi. All right guys, so first let's start with the front, go from front to the back. This way I think it'll be a lot easier. I'm basically gonna go over everything that has been done to the bike up to this point. So let's start off in the front. I do want to mention that Silverback has the stock 2020 Road Glide Special wheels. They're really, really nice. I like them, I like the design, they're in black. I did mention possibly maybe next winter, we might upgrade the wheels to a pair of Arlen Ness wheels. They're really nice. But as far as now, we're gonna be keeping the stock wheels. What we did with the brakes is basically remove the stock rotors off of the Road Glide and we installed a set of 14-inch Arlen Ness big brake rotor kit in gold. And then we installed a set of Lindell high performance brake pads. And anytime you guys want to change out the rotors, whether it's going to the stock rotor or an aftermarket rotor, you definitely want to replace the pads. 100%, don't even think about it, replace the pads. So this way the pads could seat up against the new rotor properly. So as far as what I think about the brakes, a lot of people have been asking me, you could feel the difference in stopping power immediately. So you're going from the stock size rotor up to a 14. It's giving you a lot more leverage when you hammer down on that brake lever. You could immediately tell the difference of the stopping power. I will keep you guys posted after we come back from this long ride from Daytona to give you a more in-depth review as far as the brakes go. But it's something definitely I would absolutely do. If you're putting more power in the bike, you definitely want some more stopping power. And I also love the look of the Arlen Ness big brake rotor kit. I think it just brings a nice touch to the bike. Going back to the wheels, we wrapped our stock wheels with an awesome set of Michelin Commander 3 tires. Now, these tires are absolutely amazing. Not only do they make a great motorcycle tire, but Michelin, in my opinion, makes some of the best tires for vehicles, for race applications, all around. Their compound is fantastic, the tread pattern is awesome, and it's just a super, super high quality tire. I wouldn't go with anything else. I've ridden this bike with the Michelin Commander 3 tires in the rain, in the sleet, and they have very, very good traction. The stock Dunlops that I had on the bike cannot compare to the Michelin Commander 3s. So I would definitely highly recommend, if you are going to a new set of tires, absolutely get the Michelin Commander 3 tires. Fantastic choice. All right, so heading up from the wheels and the brakes, we have our Clockworks slicer fender. We removed the stock big fender. I wasn't crazy about the look, and after looking at a bunch of different fenders. I really liked the clockwork style fenders. They have a bunch of different styles to choose from, but after I looked at a couple of models on the clockwork site, I really fell in love with the slicer style fender. It wraps the wheel very, very nicely, very tightly. It's long down in the back to protect from any rocks going up into the oil cooler, and I just really love the look. Now let's talk about lighting. So what we installed on Silverback was a bunch of products from our sponsor Zero 3D, which make an absolutely amazing product. In my opinion, their lighting components have style, functionality, and they just look absolutely awesome. I don't like big, chunky lighting. The Zero 3D lighting have phenomenal style. So in the front, we put on several lighting components from Zero 3D. We put on the vent trim lighting. We also installed the Fang bezel lights. We also installed the Zero 3D road blades. And then we just finished off the front with a set of Zero 3D turn signal lights. It has the black bezel. They just look so nice, really good, super bright, as you guys can see. And let me tell you guys, at nighttime, the bike looks amazing with the lights. I'll get you guys some more footage in future videos so you guys can see the whole bike lit up. I'll definitely have some footage from Daytona for you guys so you can check it out. And then in the back of the bike, we went with the Zero Latitude taillight with the bag blades. Also, we installed the filler panel lights. And then we installed the machete lights underneath the bags and finished off the back with some Zero 3D bag hinge lighting. And this is the huge reason why I like the Zero products. They're very streamlined, they're not thick and bulky, they're very, very nicely designed. The lighting is very bright, everything works super well. Never had an issue. Also, the installation is very, very simple. Everything is plug and play. You have colored step-by-step directions. So I'm definitely super happy with all the lighting components and how it looks. So now we work our way up towards the front and we're back at the windshield. So what we're rocking is a 9-inch Sport Flare dark smoke windshield by Clockworks with the Clockworks windshield trim. I just think that just absolutely finishes it off. So I've had larger windshields on the bike. It does obviously help prevent the wind more off of your head and body, but I really wasn't too keen on the look of it. So we dropped it down. I believe I used to have a 12-inch and now I have the 9-inch. I just love the look. It's still blocks out because it has the Sport Flare on the windshield. It still prevents pretty much 95 to 98% of the wind hitting my head and helmet. And that Clockworks windshield trim, I think it just adds a beautiful touch and finishes the front of the bike off really well. Going back further, let's talk about the bars. So I think the bars, primarily 95% of you guys love the bars. A couple people don't care for the bars. We had a pair of Factory 47 bars on here previously. I used to have them on my previous Road Glide as well as my previous Street Glide, and they make a fantastic product, don't get me wrong. But for me personally, for the style of riding that I like to do, they just didn't work for me. So basically, we ride hard. We like to hit the twisties as best as we could on a bagger. But the biggest issue was at slow speed turning with the high bars, 14-inch, stretched out really wide and forward. It's really hard to maneuver the bike at slow speeds, and that's why people are tending to go to a kind of a riser with a T-bar setup, because the bike is super maneuverable at slow speeds. At high speeds, you obviously aren't moving the bars as much as you would at slow speeds, but when you start doing some slow speed maneuvering, whether it's off the stop or whether it's doing a U-turn, it's very difficult with a high pair of bars that are stretched out wide and pushed forward. So when you're basically trying to maneuver the bike, turn the bike, trying to cut the wheel fully, whether it's your right arm out there or your left arm out there, it is way out there. So you're kind of stretched out like this, if you know what I'm talking about. So I had to change them. So I looked around. I do like the T-bar setup, but I'm not like super crazy about it because a lot of the times you have to relocate the gauges and whatnot. So then a couple people had it, I seen it, and then my boy Nadal had it from our crew that we ride with on his CVO, and I just absolutely fell in love with them. I sat on his bike. They are, well, anyway, sorry. These are the LA Choppers 12-inch hammerhead bars. The feel, when I sit on this bike now, the feel is actually almost like a T-bar. I could say almost identical to a T-bar as far as arm positioning, hand positioning. So that's why I like it. The higher bars that I had on before, my shoulder was actually starting to hurt. This kind of dropped them down a little bit. My arm is actually even kind of with my shoulder. I should say my hand is even with my shoulder right now. So it's at a perfect height. But these bars, they're tighter. I believe they're about 6 to 8 inches tighter, closer than the factory 47s. And the slow speed maneuvering, oh my God, it's like a dirt bike. It's crazy. I also love how they look. So it's kind of, I don't want to say controversial, but it's either people, like I said, 90–95% people love them, small percentage don't like them, but you really have to see them in person. It is just beautifully made, 1.5 inch tubing, just absolutely awesome. But my main thing is the hand positioning, hand and arm positioning, and the slow speed maneuvering that you get from these bars, and the feel that you get when you're riding. You just feel like you're in control of the bike. I hope that makes sense. So as far as the bars, I am super happy with the bars, love them. I definitely would not change them out for the world. And again, LA Choppers 12-inch hammerhead bars. Then we installed some Chromeworks hand grips. I really like these hand grips for 2 reasons. I love how they look, and the tips actually match my exhaust tips, which I love. The main reason is that they're kind of thinner than every other grip out there. They're kind of thinner. So when I have a big hand, I'm about 6'2", 215 pounds, but the other grips that I've had or seen, they're really big and bulky. So the problem is not in the summertime. Problem is when you're riding in cold weather and you have a glove on, it's really kind of uncomfortable with a big bulky hand grip. These are a little thinner, and it makes a world of difference when you have a big heavier glove on to control the bike. So I'm definitely super happy with the grips. So attached to the handlebars for the controls, we have a set of Flow Motorsport levers. I love these levers. I absolutely love them. I tell everybody to get them. So these levers are awesome in so many ways. I'll tell you why. Because number one, they look badass. Number two, they are fully adjustable breakaway levers. And number three, they're thin. They're not big and bulky like the stock levers. When you have a big hand grip and a big stock lever with a thick glove, and you got a small hand, let me tell you, you have a problem. So the thin lever gives you an awesome feel with a heavy glove when you're using the clutch, when you're using the brake. They're just absolutely fantastic. I recommend them to everybody. Definitely a go on the levers. In front of the levers, another amazing thing Memphis Shades just hooked us up with. It's their Memphis Shades Dark Smoke handguards. So I will tell you that I haven't ridden the bike long enough with the handguards on. I will definitely give you a review when I come back from Daytona. I'll definitely have a lot more input. First and foremost, I wasn't too sure how it was gonna look with the styling of Silverback. But after I put them on, I instantly fell in love with the look. And not only do I like how it looks, I know without a shadow of a doubt that in cold weather riding, rain, any kind of inclement weather, or getting beamed by a piece of stone or something like that on the highway doing 70, 80 miles an hour, it is definitely going to be a huge help. So I would also recommend the handguards. The only thing that would possibly deter someone if they don't like how they look, but as far as a functionality perspective, they work. They're going to work. All right, guys, I told you it's gonna be pretty long. This might be a good video for a Saturday, Sunday, on a snow day. But I think this is gonna be very good information for you guys to kind of make the right decision as far as what modifications and upgrades you should do to your bike. So now going to the mirrors, you guys remember I had the small Torque, I believe they were called, teardrop black mirrors. Very, very nice looking, horrible mirrors. Don't use them, and not because of the looks, because visibility is absolutely horrible. I'm all about how the bike looks. I'm about the styling because it has to look good. There's no point in building a bike if it doesn't look good. What's the point, right? It's gotta look good and function well. So there's some like kind of flexibility there. But with these mirrors, as far as it was being just too detrimental to my safety, we had to change them out. So I was looking around, and then I was actually at the dealership and I seen the Empire Collection mirrors, and I really just fell in love with how they look, the styling, the shape, and the visibility out of these mirrors are absolutely amazing. And then I just decided to go all in with the Empire Collection. We changed out the derby cover. I had to change out the Air Force Veteran derby cover because it was actually turning a different color. So we installed the Empire Collection derby cover, Empire Collection floorboards, shifter peg, and brake pedal. I love the floorboards. They're a little longer, about 2.5 inch longer than the stock Road Glide Special floorboards. I'm super happy with the collection, love how it looks. And not only that, I think it matches the bike very, very well. And it matches our Arlen-S Big Sucker air cleaner, so I'm super stoked about that. All right guys, so now let's go to the seat. So as you guys know, I had the Drag Specialties Predator 3 seat on. Probably since I got the bike, a couple months afterwards, we got the Drag Specialties Predator 3 seat. Really liked how the seat looked. The comfort, I mean, it's a sportier looking seat. So a lot of times I get the question, how's the comfort on a seat? It's not that good. Plus the older you get, you realize that you just cannot be on a bike for a lengthy period of time as you could when you were in your 20s. When I was probably 20 years old, I could probably take this thing, ride it across the country, and never get off the bike. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. That's not the case. I'm gonna be 50 years old here in a couple months. And what we usually do is basically when we're on, just to give you guys a little example, when me, Glenn, and Big Guy were coming back from the Tennessee trip, that was about 850 miles. We did it in one shot. I think it was like 14 hours, 13 hours, something like that. One shot, we were moving. But basically like every fuel stop, we definitely stop and let the blood flow back into our legs and ass. Sometimes it was sooner. So the bike would get maybe almost 200, little over 200 miles to the tank. Sometimes we stopped at 160, 170. Once you start getting that feeling in your butt and you gotta start sliding your butt cheek over to the left and over to the right, that is a telltale sign of get your ass off to the side, fuel up, rest, and get off the bike for a little bit. So they're not, the sportier looking seats, they're not going to be comfortable. I don't care which one you have. But anyway, let's get down to what happened. So this is all Nadal's fault. Every time I talk in this video, if I tell you guys that I switched over to Sun, it's Nadal's fault. Our boy and our crew on his beautiful Road Glide CVO. He's always changing up something new, and that's what he did. He changed and installed a beautiful Saddlemen SDC Pro Gripper seat, and as soon as I seen it, I just fell in love with it. So I'll tell you guys why. The stitching on the Saddlemen seat, the design is just absolutely beautiful. The bright, vivid silver stitching, the white embroidered Saddlemen logo, the SDC logo on the back. The front is almost like a carbon fiber, and the back is almost like a perforated leather look. It's also a little tiny bit wider and drops a little lower by the side panels, which I like. On the Predator 3 seat, you could kind of see a gap right here, which I didn't like. This seat kind of comes out a little wider and over, down lower, over this, so it eliminates this gap. I love this high. It almost acts as a backrest. It is really, really functional, believe it or not. It helps you a lot with your back. I just love the styling. Another thing, the Predator 3 seat didn't come as high. This tongue in the front here did not come as high. And you could almost see like this little gap where the middle panel on the gas tank is and where the seat meet, which I wasn't too crazy about. The Saddlemen seat, let me tell you, hands down, beautiful, beautifully constructed, beautifully designed. Everything is just well thought of. Love it. I'm in love with the seat. I'll tell you guys one thing. I noticed that from the Predator 3 seat to the Saddleman, I'm not sitting, I should say, back further or forward. I don't feel that. I feel I'm sitting maybe a little bit higher, maybe an inch higher, which I actually like. So that is the only difference. I will tell you as far as comfort, but I don't think it's going to be much different than the Predator 3. It's possible it might, but I'll definitely keep you guys posted on the seat. Oh my God, and now we're going to go over, I would say one of the top three modifications that every Harley Davidson owner should get immediately. As soon as they take their bike, they should just roll it into the service department and change this immediately. And that's the Legends front Axio cartridges and back Revo Arc suspension upgrade. You have to do it. A lot of people just do the back. I know it's pretty expensive. I'm gonna tell you now that if you change out the front and the back, you will absolutely be stoked riding your motorcycle. It rides like an absolutely different bike. So this is the difference. When you get a Harley right off the showroom floor, I could tell you right now, you're doing 40, you're coming to a light and you gotta stop suddenly, the front will bottom out on you. Time after time after time, that's what happens. You hit the front brake, the whole nose drops down and you kind of lose that connection between you and the bike. It doesn't feel planted. You don't feel confident when the whole nose, and not only when the nose goes down, your body is going down. So it's really not an ideal situation to be in when the whole bike drops down inches and then your whole body is going forward as well. It's just throwing the whole balance off the bike. So changing out the front cartridges over to Legend suspension cartridges, let me tell you right now, you know we ride hard on the channel and I could be doing 70, 80 miles an hour coming up to a ramp and I really have to jam on those brakes. The front barely goes down. I mean, obviously it's going down, but it's nothing compared to like before. It is just a little bit, the nose will dive down a little bit. You have full control of the bike. Your body doesn't jolt forward because the whole bike is dropping down and bottoming out. And you also hear the suspension, you hear the forks bottoming out. So if you guys ever stomp on the brakes really hard and you hear a clonk, clonk, that's basically your suspension bottoming out. So changing out the front is highly important. A lot of people only do the back. That's like buying a great pair of shoes and only buying the left or only buying the right. They work hand in hand. You have to go with the front and the back. A good suspension works in unison with the front and the back. Yes, you can just put on the back. You're not going to get the full effect. So I definitely highly recommend changing out the front and the back at the same time. So now we have the Revo Arcs on the back. They have the reserve canister. A lot of people ask me what those canisters are. That's basically a remote reservoir that holds the fluid. So these shocks are way more adjustable than the other standard Revos that I had on the bike. And not only that, they look killer, don't they? I just love the look. I love the look of the canisters on the back. And the same goes for the back. I've had the front suspension in the bike a long time, but the back I will have to fine tune it and put some more miles on the back. We just installed them when we finished the build on Silverback, so I'll have to come back and tell you guys about it. But without a doubt, they're going to definitely work better than the Revos that I had on there. And what happens is with stock suspension, and you guys know this, you go over a pothole, go over some rough train tracks, back end of the bike is bottoming out, and sometimes so hard, and it's happened to me hundreds of times, and to guys I know hundreds of times. Sometimes it hits so hard, you feel like you broke your back, right? So no more of that. That doesn't happen anymore. The back suspension just absorbs all that perfectly. You can see the difference between the stock suspension and the Legend suspension, how much beefier and how much better it is designed and manufactured, all by like really super high quality parts. So that would be probably one of my top three that I would tell you guys to absolutely change as soon as you get your bike. All right, going over to the bottom, to the back, around the swing arm. So we installed, you guys probably seen this video, these are some little touches. We popped that plastic garbage swing arm cover out. A lot of times you see on a bike, if it's ridden a lot, we put about 10 to 15,000 miles on our bikes every year. We put about 10,000 miles on Silverback, and I guess the motor blew around August, September. We still had about 4 months to ride. In about 8 months, we put 10,000 miles on it. So that was a lot of riding. But a bike that gets ridden a lot, chances are a lot of the times, if you pop that swing arm cover off, you're going to get a lot of corrosion in there. Water gets in there. So what we did was we installed a set of Figurati custom swing arm caps. They are fully machined out of very high quality stainless steel. They have 4 spring-loaded ball bearings, like indent bearings, to kind of lock the swing arm cap into place, as well as an O-ring. And it's a really tight fit. It's a great product, and I'll leave all the links down below in the description. Check them out. Great company, and they have so many styles to choose from, and they have other products that you guys could take a look as well. So up higher, a little higher than the swing arm cap, that's where our passenger floorboards were. We removed them. I don't ride 2-up ever. I'm the only one that's on this bike. So what we did was we took the rear pegs off, passenger pegs off, and this is a product from Kuryakin. It's actually called a blockout plate, and that just covers up all of the holes really nicely, makes it nice and clean looking. I really like that product. All right, guys, let's go to the back now by the luggage rack area. We have some caps that cover basically all of the hardware for the luggage rack and backrest connections. These caps are from Hogworks, and they're just black caps that basically go right over and cover where the connection is, the mounting points. I think it just finishes it up. The back of the bike really nice. You don't see the silver and the black bushing, so I really like that product. All right, so now we're getting into the big ticket items here. So I don't know how much I can tell you guys that this freaking paint job, let me tell you, camera, video, pictures does not do it justice. We sent out all the parts to North Carolina over by Chad from Hampton's Designs, and he just did really a piece of art here on Silverback. I basically gave him some ideas, and I said, listen, just go with it, brother. I trust you. And this is what he came up with. I just absolutely love the paint. It's got so much metallic in it, the design, the little tiny Harley logos in with it. I told him to keep the top of the bike basically silver, to keep the Silverback theme. I'm like so in love with the contrast between the silver and the darker silver and the black chrome and the black and the little touches of gold. I can't even tell you guys how happy I am with the paint job. Not only the design, but the quality. The quality is absolutely amazing. I highly recommend Hampton's Designs in North Carolina for your paint job. It was absolutely worth the couple months wait. It was absolutely worth the 12, 13-hour drive that me and my daughter took to go drop the parts off and then to go pick them back up. So I would definitely highly recommend it. Everybody that sees the bike is basically amazed at it. To me, I feel like it's a brand new bike. I don't even feel like it's the silver Road Glide Special that I bought from the dealership. It literally feels to me now that I bought the bike like this. I don't know, it's hard to explain. But the paint job is ridiculous. I love all the designs, all the lines that he did on it. The metallic in the paint is just truly remarkable. So super stoked about the paint job. All right, now let's get into this. So previously, if you guys didn't know, I had a 128. A couple people just asked me why I still have a 128 points cap on there, because nobody has a 130. I actually found the company. They actually shipped it out to me already. We designed together a 130 T-Man Performance points cap, which is on its way here now. I should get it hopefully in a couple days. So stay tuned for that. And I'll tell you the company, great guy, Dan, awesome. Thank you so much for your help. But we're waiting for that. So let's talk about the engine. So previously we had a 128 on it that pushed out about 143 horsepower, 145 horsepower, something like that. And it was 11-to-1 compression ratio. We had the compression ratio a little higher. We still had the TTS 250 cam in it. We had the stock crank in it. We had the larger injectors, larger throttle body in it, but it had stock heads. And the motor ripped. It was great, no issues. We put about 6,000 to 7,000 miles on that motor. Tennessee, all over the place. Laconia, I mean, we were all over the place. Doing meet and greets last year. But then, if you guys didn't see the video, we were going to a First Manufacturing Company meet and greet in Long Island, New York. We had to go from New Jersey over into New York, over to GWB, through Bronx into Long Island. And if you guys are familiar, that stretch from the GWB to Long Island, you don't want to get stuck in traffic there, especially on a 102-degree day. That's what happened. So we had nowhere to pull over, couldn't really stop the bike because it would have seized up anyway. That's what happened. I overheated the motor after we got out of traffic. Glenn behind me pulled up next to me and said, "Listen, brother, you're smoking." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I looked back and sure enough, blue smoke out of the tailpipes. So we pulled over, I waited. I thought maybe if I let the motor cool down, it'd go back to normal, but no. So long story short, rings were burnt, cylinders were scored. That kind of build had to be scrapped all in all. So this is what we did. After a lot of deciding, thinking, going back and forth, our crankshaft was already out of tolerance. And if you guys don't know, on an M8, the crankshaft is kind of pinned. It's two pieces, and then it has obviously the shaft through it with the connecting rods coming up. Those two pieces that are pinned, they're not welded. They're just pinned together, pressed and pinned together. So what happens in time is basically with all that power coming down, on a stock motor, it's not an issue. But if you have, like I did, a 128 or a stage 2, it could happen with a stage 2 or any higher power modifications above stock because it wasn't designed for that. So what happens is when the connecting rods come down, what happens is those two flywheels, and with the where it's pinned, those two flywheels kind of shift. So they should be aligned, but they kind of shift and tweak that shaft out of round. So once that happens, there is a tolerance that once you basically surpass that tolerance, you can't be putting a big bore kit on the bike. Not only that, you can't put a gear drive camshaft system in it. So there's a lot of things that happen. You might have some problems with the compensator on the other side. So you definitely don't want that problem. Because of the extra power, it tweaks your crankshaft out. So we didn't want that problem. Our limits were out. So what we did was we have a Dark Horse Crankworks signature pinned and welded crankshaft. So now the crankshaft is welded, it's trued, it's balanced, ain't going nowhere because that sucker's welded. So no matter how much power we put on it, those flywheels, those plates will never shift and the shaft will never be out of round. So we basically had to make the bottom end bulletproof. So we did that. Super happy about that, obviously, there's no question. Then we were looking at several kits. We decided to go with a T-Man Performance 130 kit. So let me tell you guys what this includes. It includes the T-Man Performance 130 sleeved cylinders. T-Man Performance took my heads, ported, polished them, made them a stage 4 head with new valves and valve springs. We kept the same injectors and throttle body as from the previous build because they were already oversized. We stuck with the same TTS 250 cam. I'll go back to that in a moment. And we also have the Dark Horse Crankworks compensator on there. Going back to the motor, stage 4 T-Man Performance heads, stage 4 130 cylinders, T-Man Performance pistons, Carrillo rods. So now our top end is basically bulletproof like the bottom end is. So the power numbers, what we got out of this motor is almost around 155 horsepower and 156 foot-pounds of torque, which are absolutely great numbers. Also with this build, what we did was we added a Zippers Performance chain drive kit. So reason I went with the chain drive conversion is because I don't want to snap a belt in, say, Sturgis in the middle of nowhere, because it's actually a pretty big job, probably a 6-7 hour job. The whole primary's got to come off. So I didn't want to have any part of that. I want to know without a shadow of a doubt, because we ride hard, that I'm not going to have a belt that's about to break. So now we installed the chain drive. It's a O-ring chain, and that thing should last a long time as long as it's well maintained. The compensator is also a big thing. If you see the stock compensator, it's actually two pieces of steel kind of that mesh together that kind of slam. When you let off the clutch and you start applying power, they kind of slam into each other. That's why if you hear a lot of clunking noises coming from the bottom of your bike, a lot of those noises are coming from the compensator hitting each other. So they do shatter, not really in the stock mode, but once you start putting stage 2 and above, they do have a tendency to shatter. Not often, but they do. I showed that in a previous video. So what we did was we installed a Dark Horse Crankworks Man of War compensator. That is it's a one-piece unit, but it's still assembled, but it's a one-piece unit. Inside of that, there is Teflon bushings to kind of suck up the play. And this way you don't have that smashing and slamming of the two steel components, of the two steel stock compensator components. So I would highly recommend that as well. That took up a lot of noise from the drivetrain, and it feels very, oh, this is what I was gonna say too. Having the compensator, the Man of War compensator and the chain drive, it feels like such a premium bike, like you can't even believe. On a stock bike, when you start giving it gas and start letting go of that clutch lever, there's almost like a lag from the time you let go of the clutch to the time you start moving, because once you let that clutch go, the clutch has to engage, and then from that, it's engaging the compensator and that has to engage, and then obviously it's putting tension on the belt, on the cush drive, and so forth. But now with the Man of War compensator and the chain drive, it just feels so much more tighter, meaning that as soon as like I'm letting out the clutch, the bike's just like vaulting forward. The connection between the lever and the back tire now, it's just so much tighter and really, really enjoyable to ride the bike now. I'm just super happy about that. So going back to the engine, we could have created a lot more power out of it. We could have easily been in, say, 165 horsepower territory. This is the issue. So a lot of you guys understand this. I'm gonna be putting 10 to 15,000 miles on this bike in a year. We do long ride videos, we go on long trips. The bike never sits in the garage. We do ride all winter long. The bike is never winterized or put away with a cover. I ride it all winter long. I had some guy comment, I forgot what, he's like, yeah, you ride all winter long. I'm like, dude, just go check out my videos. I literally ride all winter long. Me and the guys ride. Even if it's January, February, there's always a day. We ride even if it's, I did ride videos in 10-degree weather, but there's always a day in January, February, March, like basically tomorrow will be, we're in February, it's going to literally be 55 degrees. Why winterize the bike? What sense does that make? You got a lot on your brain. It's February, March, as a lot of people do here in the cold winter states. Wow, 50, it's actually gonna be like 50 degrees like for 3 days here in Northeast New Jersey. So yeah, so you open up the garage, you hop on the bike, you take a ride. I don't see any reason. You leave a trickle charger on it, there is no reason to winterize a bike. So we could have got, like I said, the larger horsepower numbers, but this is why we didn't, like I said, because we ride a lot. But we stuck with the stock 11:1 compression ratio, being that we have stage 4 components on it. We have I would say a mild but more of a torque cam with the TTS 250, and that's where it's fun to ride. From the lower RPMs to your mid-range, that's where it's really fun. And this cam works really well with this Chromeworks exhaust. So we could have got easily 165 horsepower if we bumped up the compression ratio to 11.5 to 1 or a little more, and put in a 5-something lift cam from S&S. But this is what happens. The higher your compression ratio is on a motor, the more heat you're building in that motor, which we don't want. Because the higher heat you have, that's the more you need to cool the bike, the air-cooled bike, right? So, but that's the problem I got into in the beginning. I don't want to get into that again. If we were using this bike primarily for drag racing at the track, or maybe some short rides here and there, yeah, I'd probably go with a more compression, higher lift cam, get more power, but it's not reliable. It's not that reliable. So I just don't have the time or the money or the patience to be rebuilding a motor every year. So what we wanted to do is to make some really good power, which it has 155 horsepower and 156 foot-pounds of torque. And we wanted to make it reliable as possible. So that's why we went with that camshaft, and that's why we kept the compression ratio at 11:1. So not only to help with the extra power and the heat, and so what else we did to upgrade the performance of the engine and to withstand its longevity, we added 2 fans. So what we did was we added a Harley Davidson oil cooler with fan. It's 1 unit that you purchase from Harley Davidson, you install it. And then we also installed a set of love jugs. The love jugs I have on my bike are the black ones. It has a switch, it's also controlled and comes on by the temperature of the motor. And this set of love jugs are the smaller one. They basically put out the same amount or possibly a little more CFMs than the larger ones, but these are really small. I think they look really good. And if it's ever super hot, it's just gonna cool that motor that much more. So this way I don't get into the same issue. So I love that I have 2 fans on the bike. I would definitely, this is another thing, I would definitely, not even recommendation, just freaking do it. Put the 2 fans on the bike. If you're going with a big bore kit with big power numbers, if you're going stage 2, I wouldn't even worry about it. But if you're putting a big bore kit on it with a heavy lift cam, high power, definitely get 2 fans. Definitely. Okay, oh my goodness, this is long. Sorry guys, but I hope I'm giving you some good info. I think last but not least, the exhaust. Biggest reason I went with Chromeworks, it looks absolutely phenomenal. I get this all the time, everywhere I go. Oh my God, what kind of exhaust is that? Oh my God, what kind of finish is that? Not only does it look absolutely amazing, the finish is perfect. It is flawless. They sound ridiculously good. The big thing is, with stretched bags, I'm not going to go with the 2-into-1, and we'll go over that a little bit. I definitely wanted to go with a 2-into-2. So basically this exhaust, this is called the Chromeworks Eclipse 2-into-2 in black chrome with 4.5-inch mufflers. Another very, very big question I get is what baffles are you using? So we have the louvered baffles in it. You don't want the comp baffles in it because that doesn't give you enough back pressure. Dave fully tested it. This is proven results. Dave has, tested this numerous times. The louvered baffles will definitely get you the most power and sound ridiculously good. So this exhaust is a 2-into-2, but it has a crossover in the middle. You definitely do not want true duals. You will lose power. You will not gain power. You will lose power with true duals. So a 2-into-2 with a crossover is what you want. So after I've had these pipes on since I owned the bike, since the stage 2, and again, this is information I'm giving to you guys that is not just out of thin air. These pipes have been tried and tested by Dave hundreds of times. And as far as a 2-into-2 with a crossover, they put out pretty much the most power and torque out of any other 2-into-2 pipe on the market. So now I get the question a lot, why don't you have a 2-into-1? First of all I have stretched bags. I don't like that look. If I had shallow bags, short bags, then I'd possibly go with the 2-into-1 Chromeworks pipe. But as far as me, with the stretch bags, I gotta have those 2 pipes and mufflers sticking out the back, and they gotta work. I'm not going to put a ghost pipe on the left side and you start the bike up, you got a little steam and a little smoke spewing out of the right muffler and nothing out of the back. I think that looks, for me, I don't want anything on the bike that's actually not working. What's the point? So with this exhaust, it puts out fantastic power numbers, great horsepower, great torque numbers. It looks fantastic. And let me tell you guys, when you get on it, it sounds absolutely phenomenal, amazing. And depending on the color of your bike, the black chrome, I don't know what more to say. It looks amazing, especially my bike with the silver, with the chrome, with the gray, with the black. It just blends in beautifully. Love Absolutely love the exhaust, have no issues. Customer service is phenomenal. If you do go with the 2-into-1, say another company, TBR, or any other company like that makes a 2-into-1, yes, you will possibly make, depending on the pipe and the baffle you have in it, yes, you can make more horsepower. You're gonna gain more horsepower, but you're gonna lose torque. That's just how it works. 2-into-1, more horsepower, less torque. 2-into-2, little tiny bit less horsepower, but more torque. So that's what the objective was on this build, to get that really beautiful torque band, that sweet spot that usually a lot of us are riding in from 1,000 to 4,000, 5,000. And with this build, our torque numbers, let me see if I have them here. This build is actually putting out 100, think about this, 156 foot-pounds of torque at almost 5,000 RPM. It's just building, 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 building. That's how crazy it is. I mean, it's absolutely remarkable. So the entire rev range almost, it is just literally pulling, pulling, pulling. So there is so many combinations, so many ways to go about this, so many questions you could answer. There's also so many other people that are putting out some great builds. But this is what I went with. I am happy with everything I did on the bike. I wouldn't change anything. To finish this video off, the only thing that, like I said, possibly I might, maybe in the next winter, is change out the wheels, and hopefully the transmission holds up, because that is our only weak link, is the transmission. Hopefully the transmission holds up. If not, we're probably gonna have to put an aftermarket tranny in there, but as far as now, we're keeping the stock transmission in there. Oh yes, and I did forget, we have the Recluse Torque Drive high performance clutch kit in it with heavy duty springs. And make sure you have the new clips in the kit. They actually have 2 prongs on it, not 1. Make sure you have those clips. The clutch is fantastic, grabs like a rock. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. I think this was the longest talking video on the planet. I don't know if I missed anything. Brakes, lights. Let me see the other side. Exhaust, I don't think so. The heat deflectors, I just think it looks great with the heat deflectors. It just blocks out that hole between the frame and the engine. Guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Also, let me know if you guys have a build going on right now. All right, guys, this is my baby. I love her. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.